All right, good evening, everybody. Absolutely excited tonight about what we have to share with you. I can tell you this information absolutely changed Michelle and I's life 7.5 years ago when we first heard it. A friend of Michelle's brought the information to her and told us we had to go to this meeting that was happening because a cardiologist in Sioux Falls, South Dakota was going to talk to us about how we could improve our health. And she knew that, we were very interested in health and helping other people. And I will be open and honest with all of you saying that I was absolutely skeptical about what I was going to hear. But at the same time, in business, anything that I hear, I'm always open-minded about what it is to see where it fits in with my life. And, it was an absolute no-brainer for us. Once we heard the science and understood what this product and the technology would do inside our bodies, that we were going to be customers for life. And then on the business side of it, it just naturally started into a business for us, because when you find great things, you want your friends and your family to know about it. And we started to share it with other people. And the more people we shared it with, the more anecdotal evidence we got back that it was doing what it was designed to do. And we had to step back and say, where does this fit in with our lives? And I can tell you that after 9 months of sharing this with other people, I was able to walk away from the corporate world, and our lives have never been the same. And we're just super excited about this journey. We're super excited to be able to share this information with you guys tonight. But it's just that, it's information. So you have to choose where it fits in for you and what you're going to do with the information. I've got a dear friend of mine on this webinar as well. I always love doing webinars with medical professionals because they can validate things in a different way than I can. My background is in the financial industry. I've got an MBA, several undergraduate degrees. And when I got into the working world, I got my security licenses. Worked for Wells Fargo in the securities arena for a while. When we moved to South Dakota, I switched over to Citigroup. I managed the defaulted student loan portfolio, and I did corporate treasury as well. So I love, again, the fact that we have medical professionals that are involved with this journey, because they can represent the products in a completely different way than I can bring to you. So I want to introduce you guys all to Dr. Melody Rodarte. She was voted, listen to this, she was voted one of the top obesity medicine doctors in 2017. She's board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine, certified in hyperbaric medicine, as well as wound care and aesthetics. We know her and her husband, Tony, really well. They have a boy and girl twins who are 15 now. Her awesome husband, Tony, he's a detective in Arizona. They love to travel, be with their friends and family, and they have a passion for preventative medicine, but she also does medical missions throughout the world as well, too. So with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Melody Rodarte.
Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I love doing these with you too, and the feeling is mutual because I know the medical side and I love learning the financial side from those who can teach me in this. So I thank you very much for letting me always ask questions regarding the finances. I'm more than happy to answer the medical side, of course. So let me share my screen as I continue to talk, but I get excited when I get to share information with people, and that's what we're going to do tonight. My goal has always been to educate my patients and give them the tools to make decisions that are right for them. And it started when I started my practice back in 2005, 2006. I would say, I'm not your mom, I'm your doctor. I'm going to give you options, we'll discuss it, and then it's up to you to put in place what's important to you. And I'm a DO, I'm a doctor of osteopathic medicine, and I chose that route because I loved integrating both Eastern and Western medicine. That was important to me. On the screen, you can see my family, and the reason why I'm here tonight specifically is because of my son there, because I was looking for something for him to help reduce his stress. He has an autoimmune condition called alopecia totalis, and I was looking for something other than steroids and Prozac to help him have his beautiful hair come back. So I'm very thankful for someone who wanted to share that with me, and that's what I'm going to do tonight, is share this with you, and hopefully you'll see the passion of why I continue to teach and train teams on these medical breakthroughs and how to stay healthy and out of the doctor's office. What a concept, right? To stay healthy and out of a doctor's office. So if you know me, you know I love to teach and I want to educate. So we're going to start there. The first word is nutragenomics, and it's using nutrition to help gene expression. And you're going to be hearing this word often now. The Today Show has had several segments. We've seen it in Time Magazine and Popular Science. It's a word that's going to stay. We're trying to help our genes express themselves correctly. And we're trying to biohack that aging process, taking a complex system and making it simpler. And our bodies can be so complex, but at the same time, we can break it down and figure out how to help each level out so that there's a synergy there. And this is here to stay. That personalized health market is growing, definitely. And so I would love for you to know what there is available to you. And Shawn will talk a little bit more about that later. But you might be wondering as you're listening to this, is why is a physician, doing a webinar? Hopefully you'll get that answer as you're listening too. And so another definition is going to be oxidative stress. So it's the natural wear and tear that's happening inside of our bodies. It's happening inside of innate objects as well. So a perfect example that we can kind of grasp is this apple. If you cut that apple in half, that oxygen is hitting the pulp, it's oxidizing, free radicals are being released, and it's starting to age. And it doesn't matter if that apple was frozen for a year and then made it to the shelf, or you grew it in the backyard with love and tenderness, it starts to age once it is cut open. And so whether or not we eat well, we use pesticides, herbicides, gas, we live in a polluted area in the sunshine, all of us start to age. And if we cannot clean up that oxidative stress, if we cannot neutralize those free radicals, disease can set in. So those free radicals will damage a cell. That cell makes up a tissue. The tissue makes up an organ, and then we get disease. So on the right-hand side, you can see that there are over 200 diseases that we know of that free radical damage and oxidative stress will lead to problems. So, it can affect the heart, and you can have a heart attack or high blood pressure, skin issues, kidney issues, lung, brain, the immune system. That's really what struck me. I was trying to reduce an autoimmune process in my son, and they run in our family too. How do we prevent those from happening, right? Diabetes, migraines. I mean, the list goes on and on. So that is what we are going to share tonight mostly, is why should you care? Is if you're like me and want to slow down that aging process and to grow old kicking and screaming, then we've definitely got something to perk your interest. So it started back in 2005 with an ABC Primetime Investigative Report. And I'm going to show that right now because it's really, truly where the story began. And you'll see John Quinones, you'll recognize his face, and he's going to do a Primetime Investigative Report.
The following is an ABC Primetime Investigative Report that aired in 2005.
You want to get an edge on turning back the clock with just a few pills? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough. As I found out firsthand, there may be a way to erase years, at least inside my body. Granted, it's down the road, but some scientists are wondering if a new pill I took might offer a very long life.
It may not look like the fountain of youth, but inside this nondescript building, I'm about to become part of an exciting experiment, a kind of guinea pig.
Dr. McCord, okay.
I'm here at the University of Colorado in Denver to meet Dr. Joe McCord, a world-renowned scientist.
This is pretty exciting stuff you're finding, huh?
It is. We're very excited about it.
His latest research could very well unravel the mystery of aging itself. And his decades of experiments may have the potential of adding years to people's lives and possibly prevent chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. It all centers around this small yellow pill, and for me, it begins with a blood test.
Can you scoop? Yeah, there we go.
It wouldn't be the first time I've given blood for this company.
They want to check my levels of something called T-bars, which is a rough indicator of a person's actual age. T-bars can identify a condition known as oxidative stress, a kind of measure of the wear and tear on our bodies. Oxidative stress, like the rusting of an engine, is not a good thing.
Bad for the body,
Leading to disease.
leading to disease and leading to malfunction, and importantly, leading to what we call aging. It is a slow progression of increasing oxidative stress. That's the main characteristic biochemically of the aging process.
The problem of aging begins with the very food we eat to give us energy. As our cells burn that food, they also release toxic chemicals. Those chemicals, you may know them as free radicals, react with all the components of our cells, literally bombarding them millions of times per second, damaging all our cells. The result? Oxidative stress, and we all have it. The body fights back with a system of defenses. It makes two antioxidant enzymes, catalase and SOD, whose job is to gobble up the free radicals before they can harm our cells. But as we get older, some of those toxic radicals overwhelm our enzymes and wreak their havoc. For a long time, scientists thought that antioxidant vitamins like C and E would lower it, but they don't.
As it's turned out in just the last 5 years or so, we see that they're not good enough tools. They're not powerful enough.
But this pill, he says, is powerful enough. In fact, many times more powerful.
So, doctor, how often do I take these?
And so, here I go. With that swallow, I've just become part of a potentially landmark scientific experiment.
Doesn't taste bad.
It's called Protandim, and tests on both mice and humans have already shown that it revs up the manufacture of those good enzymes in our bodies. More enzymes, fewer free radicals to harm us. Whether that will lead to longer life is still unknown. Experiments to see if mice live longer are about to get underway, but it's a tantalizing theory.
Right now, all we know is that this preparation decreases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is not a disease, just like aging is not in itself a disease, but it's something that accompanies and is attached to many disease processes.
Have you discovered the fountain of youth?
I wouldn't put it that way, but we may have discovered something that will tell us a lot more about how we age, what happens biochemically, and maybe how we can slow it down. And so you can see the age-related.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me?
But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result? My level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%, that's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed.
Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks,
Even mental disease.
yes,
Depression?
Alzheimer's disease, depression. But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
The company that makes Protandim says its tests show the pill, made from ingredients used for centuries, is absolutely safe. But because it's being sold as a nutritional supplement and not a drug, Protandim does not need FDA approval for safety.
So after that aired, you know, it didn't debunk the company. It actually promoted this product that could reduce their oxidative stress. So, you know, you can see there that hundreds of thousands of orders came in, but it was a small little biotech company. And we'll talk about the problems that had happened and why we are where we're at this point. But the neat part for me and other scientists, and they were already looking, okay, we know what oxidative stress can do. What would happen if we used Protandim in these studies to reduce oxidative stress? And so you're going to see on this slide multiple well-known universities who did call up Dr. McCord and said, can we use Protandim in these studies? And so tonight, when you get off this webinar, you can go to a place called PubMed, and it's the National Archive. It's by the National Institute of Health. Anybody around the world can go there, pubmed.gov, and you can type in Protandim, and you're going to see 24 peer-reviewed studies. For me as a physician, it was incredibly important for me to be able to type that into PubMed and read literature on Protandim, because whenever a patient would bring me something, that would be the first place that I would go. I'd want to know if there were any, any third-party validation, any studies out there that weren't done by just the company. And the first thing that really caught my eye, you'll see it in the center there, is the American Heart Association puts out a journal called Circulation. And that was the first thing that had popped up that I saw, and I was like, okay, I have to read this first. I can't believe it's in a journal of this caliber. So those of you who love to read, go to PubMed, type in Protandim, and so you could definitely start looking through all of those journal articles and papers. But on the right-hand side, you're going to notice there are some pharmaceutical companies that are very well known. And so there is, and I love this word, a rat race right now to who can come out with products such as Protandim. So let me give you some specifics on what this is doing. So we know in the past, direct antioxidants, right? So you eat your blueberries, you eat your green leafy vegetables, you take a vitamin C or a vitamin E. Well, all you're doing is you're neutralizing a free radical at a 1-to-1. It's one and done. So what the new generation is doing is we're starting to activate. So we are coming from a place of supplementation and starting to activate. When we activate a pathway in our body called NRF2, or it'll be called NRF2 activation, NRF2 synergizer, NRF2 technology. When we can do that, what we're doing is we're allowing our body to release its own antioxidants that are much more powerful than anything that we can ingest. Things such as catalase, glutathione, heme oxygenase 1, and SOD. You can see those words there on the bottom of the screen. But when our cell can release those own antioxidants, we're releasing at a rate of 1,000,000 to 1, and they are continuing to neutralize free radicals. And so that's why we love that image there of like a fire hydrant, because it's just blasting. It's being able to reduce that oxidative stress. And that's why John Quinones's blood work looks so well so soon. So Protandim is a combination of 5 herbal ingredients. So ashwagandha, bacopa, milk thistle, green tea, and turmeric. And you already might be taking some of those ingredients because you heard they were anti-inflammatory or anti-fibrotic or just plain old good for you. Well, the synergistic blend does make a difference. That's why we have so many patents protecting this formulation that was discovered. I'll show you a slide in a little bit about that synergy. But what I want you to really take from this is that we are reducing cellular stress. We are reducing oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days and up to 70% with continued use. The FDA allows us to make that statement because of the human study. That's incredible, you guys. And then if that wasn't enough, the NIA, which is the National Institute on Aging, funded a study, and they had a medication arm and they had a natural supplement arm. Protandim was the only natural product proven to extend lifespan in a mouse and in mice, and it was about 7%, which would be about 5 human years. So that's incredible as well to be able to go on and read that and know that this is done, this study over multiple universities. It wasn't done just at one university. So the caliber is incredible. And so the sum point is that NRF2 helps to regulate our body's own survival genes. The 2 seals of approval that you see there on the bottom, the NSF, is just a third party coming in and saying what is on the label is truly what you are ingesting. That's important, right? We want to know what we're putting into our bodies, especially when it's something over the counter. And then the BSCG is Banned Substance Control Group. So elite athletes can take this and not worry about doping. This is very difficult to get. There's only about 40 items on this list. So the fact that we made that list is great, because think of our weekend warriors and our athletes and just us normal people who work out. We build up, you know, that oxidative stress. To know that we're putting in something safe in our bodies is incredible, to reduce that inflammation and reduce that stress. And so this is the slide I was telling you about. So you can see the ingredients alone there, as well as versus taking it as Protandim. I don't think my mouse works on here when I'm kind of circling things, but if you take it in the synergistic blend as Protandim, we found that it is 18-fold increase in antioxidant release. That's why we're seeing such a decrease in oxidative stress by taking it in the form of Protandim. So those of you who are thinking, oh, I have some of these in my cabinet, this is the difference why we would say, I would rather you take it as Protandim. Plus, I don't know about you guys, I'd rather take one little yellow pill than five pills to try and get the same effect. And if you thought that NRF2 might be something that's going to come and go and not be promoted, I'm going to tell you otherwise. And this is what Washington State University said. NRF2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. So there's 2 key words here: therapy and prevention. It's very difficult to do the same pathway. And the fact that this NRF2, now we know about it, and that's why it's called the master regulator, because it can be a therapy and a prevention for our cells to function like they should, to have the tools to function like they should. And if you remember me telling you that there are pharmaceutical companies that are making NRF2 activators, this is the first one that was on the market. It's called Tecfidera. And if you have MS, then you most likely have heard about it. But if you haven't, you probably haven't heard about it. And Biogenetic is the pharmaceutical company. And they asked if they could go head to head with Protandim, because they wanted to see how their new drug, how it compared to a natural herbal supplement that was technically is the most potent NRF2 activator on the market still. And so this is what they said. Interestingly, Protandim, a dietary supplement consisting of herbal ingredients, was the most potent inducer and therefore may be the most suited as a therapeutic strategy. I'm not sure about you. I'd rather take something natural. And Protandim is, I think now $41 with shipping and tax versus a $50,000 a year drug called Tecfidera, and you'd have to have MS to take this. And it does come with side effects. There is another drug that was released last year for ALS. So majority of the drugs that are coming out on the market are 1, synthetic, and 2, extremely expensive, and 3, you have to have a certain disease to then get approval to take it. So that is a major difference to taking Protandim. You, 1, do not have to have a disease. I'm going to stop and say that we are not meant to treat, prevent, mitigate disease. What we're doing is allowing the body to have the tools to function. And so when you're taking it naturally, 1, we're giving the tools to the body to help reduce oxidative stress that is linked to 1, creating disease, and 2, the promotion or the chronicity of diseases and the progression. So I hope that makes sense. And then we do have an NRF1 activator that helps our mitochondria. And all we usually think about with mitochondria is ATP and energy. And what we need to know now is it's even more than that. So it's linked to so many neurologic disorders, and as well as diabetes and cancer. I like to tell everybody in the room when I'm usually presenting that I learned about mitochondria being a part of cancer about 2 years ago. We never really thought of it that way. And the mitochondria, one of their biggest function is to protect our gene, our genome. And when the gene is not protected, then a genetic mutation can happen. So that's why we need healthy mitochondria. The mitochondria have an intense network. and that network talks to each other throughout the entire body. And if a cell cannot clean up its act, it needs to die. And that's the function of the mitochondria, being able to do that. And when it doesn't, that's where disease can happen. And the most worrisome one that we always think about usually is cancer. And so our Protandim NRF1 Synergizer increases our cellular energy, helps our performance. It helps sleep. We actually have a sleep study. So those of you who, I talked to someone today, I was so excited. She stopped taking her Benadryl with the starting Protandim. It's just helping those mitochondria function. And then NRF1, what it's also doing is it's helping slowing down that cellular aging by helping our chromosomes stay intact and function and protect itself and duplicate normally. So those of you who have not heard about leaky gut, please go on and type it into your Google search. You will be just amazed with the amount of information that is out there on leaky gut. It affects the whole body. If our gut is not intact, we can have allergies and sinus issues. We can have brain fog, depression, ADD, ADHD, skin issues. It's just amazing the type of skin issues that can happen with the food we eat. Our thyroid, T4 is converted to T3 in the gut. So it is important that our gut is functioning for our thyroid to function, whether or not we have, take thyroid medication or we make it. We need that gut intact. And then, of course, we usually think about IBS, IBD when we talk about leaky gut, and then as well as our joints and our adrenals. Very important to protect our gut. And one of the ways that we can do it is by taking a probiotic. So in the past, people would say, oh, I have, a normal gut. I don't need a probiotic. Or I haven't been on antibiotics. I don't need a probiotic. Well, I'm going to tell you that everybody needs a probiotic in some form or another because of the food we eat, the things that we are exposed to. And I don't think I've met anybody who has never been on an antibiotic once in their life. By taking an antibiotic, you can change the flora of your gut for up to 10 years is what the Human Microbiome Project is talking about. So probiotics, help our digestion, help our synthesis of vitamins and minerals, our absorption, but it also helps our brain. 85% of our serotonin, our neurotransmitters are released in the gut. And that's why when we feel like we have, just haven't eaten very well, we're just like, why do I feel so foggy-brained or tired? I want to go take a nap. And that's because it's disrupting our gut, which disrupts what our brain is getting as communication. And then as well as our immune system. Our immune system is incredibly important, as well as insulin sensitivity. So those are all functions of our gut. And ours, our BioTrek technology is so important. You can look it up to 60 to 70% of the probiotics make it through the stomach into the small and large intestine because of that patent technology. And then we also have Wellmune. And Wellmune has been shown to help the white blood cells, the neutrophils, and those tight junctions in our gut. That's what we need, is tight junctions so that things don't leak through and become toxic to our body. So that's what sets our probiotic. And I love that you don't have to refrigerate it either. That's the neat part. And then we have a clean omega. It's omega-3 and 7. Some of you might not have heard about 7 just yet, but 7 is becoming a big player. And then what sets ours apart is it is more DHA, incredibly important because our bodies, and more omega-3s, our bodies, and because of the food that we're ingesting, is almost too high in omega-6s most of the time. So we need omega-3s to balance it out. And then you can trace our bottle back to the boat. So it's not rancid. There's no time for it to oxidize. It's not fishy smelling. And that's what might set ours apart, as well as having vitamin D in there. So those of us who even live in Arizona, it's amazing. I'm finding vitamin D deficiency. So a little bit of vitamin D goes a long way. It helps our brain function, as well as our bones and other immune function, as well as omegas. So if you look at taking that NRF1, NRF2, the probiotic and the omega, that is what we call the vitality stack. That's a really great way of taking care of your whole body to fight that aging process, reduce oxidative stress, help our mitochondria, and protect our gut. So that get back to the person who invited you and ask about more information on that vitality stack. But a few other things, I'll be really brief because I can be wordy. NRF2 activation of the skin is called True Science. Every skin type can use this. You don't have to be, just wanting anti-aging. It's great for every skin type. It's a 4-step process, and it came about because Louisiana State University was looking at the activation in the skin. And so if you read those studies, they are definitely incredible. And then we have NRF2 activation of the brain through Axio. I'll tell you, I've never done a energy drink in my life before Axio, and I like to call it brain food. It's nutrition for our brain. And so one is caffeinated, one isn't. It's 100 milligrams of caffeine, less than a half a cup of coffee, so you don't get the jitters. There's activated B vitamins, there's quercetin, DMAE, L-theanine. The Monterey pine bark is the NRF2 activator. These cross the blood-brain barrier, give the brain the nutrition it needs, and so mood is better, concentration is better, energy is better, function is better. And so you can kind of see that, just a young boy being able to activate his NRF2 through Protandim and Axio, and within a week or so being able to just sit down and do their homework. I mean, what a gift that is. Just nutrition, what it's meant to be, right? Hippocrates said, let food be thy, be thy medicine. And I have enough quotes. I won't bore you, but it's just incredible that yes, there's a place for medicine, but do things first through nutrition and activation. And then I won't forget our 4-legged friends. There's NRF2 for them as well, NRF2 activation for them, so that they can, grow old a little bit slower and be our best friend for a longer time. So with that, I'm going to leave this with one last quote. This is what Oregon State University says. When it finds a problem, NRF2 essentially goes back to the cellular nucleus and rings the alarm bell, where it can turn on up to 200 genes that are responsible for cell repair, detoxification of carcinogens, protein and lipid metabolism, antioxidant protection, and other actions. In their report, the scientists called it a longevity assurance factor. What I love about that last slide is the NIA then went on and published their study that then did show that we increased lifespan, better life, right? Less disease. And so I'll tell you, that is why I love talking about this and teaching and training a team, growing this as a business, because I'm being able to see more people and touch more people than I would in my daily practice, where if you're not overweight and if you are not needing Botox or skincare, you might not ever meet me, or if you're not in my circle of friends. And so this has given us a platform to go out and help the health of so many more people than I could do as just one person. And it's giving me a platform that I can grow a business to pass on. I love that Shawn is going to be able to talk more about that, but I have to meet my overhead. And with this giving me a platform, I'm going to be able to not worry about that overhead, so I can go out and do more medical missions, because I feel it's been a gift that I've been able to become a physician. And I want to go and do more, not just stay in my little Arizona hub. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Shawn.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Melody. I just love hearing the science from you guys. It absolutely blows my mind every time I hear it, of what we have our hands on. And I'll tell you, if anything, 7.5 years ago when we first heard this information, they were underestimating what we had our hands on the technology of what this is. And it isn't about the pills themselves or the products. It's really unlocking the body's own ability to heal itself. That's the miracle here. I have a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old daughters, and I know for a fact if one of them breaks their arm today and I break my arm, their arm is going to heal faster because their body works more optimally. And it took me a long time to understand why this could impact so many different things. But the reality is this. Dr. Joe McCord, he told us in San Antonio back in 2012, he said, if you think about the human genome being 25,000 light switches, We know because of the Human Genome Mapping Project what position every single one of those light switches should be in, either on or off. But as each one of us ages, stuff that should be on gets turned off, and stuff that should be off gets turned on. And that's the problem, and that's what leads to problems down the road. And these technologies allow the body to get put back into the right position, and that's why it can have such a dramatic impact on so many different things. About 85% of our business, you guys, comes from customers. And I love that for the simple fact that if you don't see the business vision like I see it, don't do it. Integrate these products into your health strategy. It's an absolute no-brainer that once you understand the science that Dr. Melody just talked about, you're going to integrate these products into your health strategy. You guys, for $5 a day, you can completely unlock your body's potential of doing what it did when it was younger. And that's our core 4 products that she was talking about: NRF1, NRF2, the probiotic, and that fish oil. The other products are amazing as well. We consume a ton of them every single month, from Axio, True Science, Pet Tandem for our dog. We absolutely integrate every single one of these products. But I'm telling you, give yourself the benefit, if nothing else, at the end of today, that you will commit to 4 to 6 months on those core 4 products at $5 a day and see how your health transforms. Now, with 85% of our customer base, our business being customer based, about 15% of the people that we share this information with, they start Rolodexing other people in their head, and they're thinking, you know, my friend needs this, my mom needs this, the neighbor needs this. And if you're Rolodexing people in your head, or maybe you're in that position that you're thinking, I want an additional income stream, I want to do something else and share this with other people, this might be for you. And so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the business side of it, because I think we'd be remiss if we didn't understand what network marketing is about and what residual income is and how it can change your life. So I'm going to put on the screen here what's called an S-curve. Now, this S-curve is, regardless of what product or industry or service that you're in, every company will eventually go through some sort of S-curve if they last long enough. Now, at the beginning of the S-curve, most of the people that are interested in the technology or a new product are the innovators or the early adopters, people that know about the technology or they're in the industry. I liken this to the iPhone, you guys. If you know about the iPhone, the original model, not very many people have. I've met very few people over the last decade that had the iPhone 1. And even the iPhone 2 and the iPhone 3, they weren't readily used. They weren't really adopted by the average person. But then once you started getting into the iPhone 4, that's when it went from the early adopters phase to really the early majority. And it hit this huge momentum curve where people were starting to integrate the iPhone, the touch screen technology of cell phones into their everyday life. And now we're sitting here at the iPhone 8, the iPhone X, 10 years into this technology being in the marketplace. We're more at the top of that S-curve there, where the late majority or the laggards are starting to get in. But everybody's heard of the technology at this point. And when you think about business, where are you better to be positioned, at the beginning of that curve or at the end? Now, you can make money at the top of that S-curve, but you better be really good at what you're doing. If you can get involved in a business or a technology or a movement at the very beginning or early on, you have much higher potential for income than down the road. And that's what I loved about this, because when we heard about this 7.5 years ago, Michelle and I, we didn't know the first thing about network marketing. We didn't know the first thing about nutraceuticals, but what we knew was this: if there was a system in place that we could put into practice, we knew we could generate the same results that other people had already proven to work. And that's what we did. We worked with some mentors. We worked with people that had already shown this to work, and we followed the system that they had in place to get the results that they had. Now, when you think about this S-curve, I want you to also think about this. You know, we're in an ever-changing business environment. The business world has never been similar to this as far as change and rapid development and just technology disrupting things that have been around for 100+ years. Recently, we heard that Toys R Us went bankrupt. And if you think about Toys R Us, it had been in existence for 70 years prior to becoming bankrupt. Most of us grew up as children that knew Toys R Us, and we look forward to that Christmas catalog of the toys we wanted to pick out in the Toys R Us catalogs and the flyers and stuff like that. The 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s were filled with Toys R Us being a staple in every household across the United States. Now, if you know about the business world, what disrupted that being an important aspect in almost every American's life? It's online sales, person-to-person distribution. It's getting products from places like Amazon. But let me ask you this, what is Amazon? Amazon is simply a bunch of distribution systems set up to ship products direct to consumers, not a brick and mortar store that you're walking into. We're looking for convenience. We're looking to get things direct to us. And that's what network marketing is as well. It's products that are being sold person to person, but they're sent from a distribution center to a consumer's house. So we're positioned at the very beginning of this curve that's disrupting stores that have been around for 100+ years. Look at JCPenney's, Sears, institutions like that are on the verge of bankruptcies. In 10 years from now, we aren't going to see a lot of these brick and mortar stores that have been around for a long time. And I want to bring you back to Toys R Us because my background is financial analysis. And one thing that I found very interesting about what happened with Toys R Us was when I started looking at the financial numbers, even though they went bankrupt in 2015, did you guys know that Toys R Us did not have a profitable quarter since 2012? I didn't know that, and that should be, you know, all over the place and very evident writing on the wall that a place like that is going to go out of business if they haven't been profitable in 6+ years. It's absolutely crazy to me. And if you think about the news landscape, what sells better, good news or bad news? Bad news absolutely does. And when we look at that ABC primetime video that was done on Lifevantage, it really highlights to me the power of what we have our hands on, because they didn't come in to look at the company and put it on a pedestal or have a great marketing story for us. What they wanted to do was poke holes into everything that the company was saying. But as you saw, John Quinones's, his oxidative stress was reduced over 40% in just 2 weeks. And we know on average it's going to be reduced by 40% in 30 days. So if you start to understand what we have our hands on, the shift in the business world, and also the shift in how people are treating health. We're going from a reactive state of medicine or a reactive state of healthcare to more of a preventative, a proactive approach. And people aren't looking for drugs. They're looking for natural remedies that are going to help increase their health and increase the longevity. So I think in so many different fronts, we're positioned exactly where we want to be in this business model, this S-curve, as you see on the screen right here. Now, in my mind, when I first saw this, I absolutely didn't think that network marketing could make money. Okay, I joked with my wife, Michelle. I told her, you know, if we're successful network marketers, we'll get a $20 commission check and we'll go get a Redbox movie and a bottle of wine and we'll celebrate. But the reality is this. Now that the company's been around for a while, we know what the average person at each one of the ranks in the company makes. From Pro 1 to Pro 10, we know what the average person is going to make. Look at the ranks of Pro 1, 2, and 3, $80, $260, $580 a month. To me, you guys, that's part-time money. Now, I knew because of my collection of litigation work in the student loan industry that the average bankruptcy in the United States could be avoided with an extra couple $100s a month. That's it. An extra couple $100 could avoid almost 80% of all bankruptcies. And I also know that about 80% of all divorces would not happen if they didn't have the financial stresses in their life that they have. That's crazy to me, an extra couple $100. Now, I'll tell you this, if that is not you, you do have friends and family that are going to bed tonight as we approach the end of the month that are looking for an answer. They're looking for a prayer because they don't know how they're going to pay their rent or their mortgage or their car payment on the first, or they don't know how they'll pay for the rest of the groceries that they need the rest of this month. That's the reality of the environment, the social environment that we're living in today. And then look at the ranks of Pro 4 to Pro 5, $1,200, $2,500 a month. To me, that's supplemental income. We have a whole host of people, these baby boomers, that are coming up to retirement age, and it's not what it used to be, right? 30, 40 years ago, when people started working, they expected to work for the same employer for 30, 40 years, and at the end of the time, they would have a pension, they would have a retirement fund, they would have Social Security to offset that portion that the pension wasn't covering to live the same lifestyle that they were accustomed to while they were working in their golden age during their retirement years. But the reality is different now. The landscape has completely changed, and we're going to see less and less pensions exist for people as they come up to retirement. And the fact of the matter is most baby boomers have not saved enough to live the same lifestyle that they were used to while they're working. So what are their choices? They either live off of less money or they continue to work, right? That's the reality. If I could roadmap out for them how to earn an extra $1,200 or $2,500 a month, I think it would be very, very advantageous for them to stop and take a look at it. And then look at the ranks from Pro 5, 6, and 7, $2,500, almost $6,000, over $11,000 a month. I bet you about 85 to 90% of all American households would replace their total full-time income somewhere in those ranks, you guys. And then look at the ranks of Pro 8, 9, and 10, $20,000, $40,000, $100,000 a month. The sky's the limit on what you can earn in a business model like this, but it does have a negative connotation. And my goal throughout sharing this information with people and really educating them on this business model is this: when it's done right with the right people and the right products, it's one of the most amazing ways to do business that's out there. If you think about franchising, around 1950, franchising was also looked upon as not a normal way to do business. A lot of people didn't think it was legitimate or an honest way to do business. But if you look at franchising today, there isn't a person out there that's sane that would tell you that franchising doesn't work or it's a legitimate way to do business. And I honestly think we're going to see this exact same transition happen with network marketing. We're seeing more and more people integrate this into the way that they earn money. And I want you to understand the difference between trading time for money and residual income. In the corporate world, you guys, the higher I climbed up that corporate ladder, the more money I got paid. But guess what else they also wanted? They wanted more time out of me. I was always trading time for money. I would show up for 2 weeks and I got paid. Show up another 2 weeks, I got paid. Well, in January of 2012, guess what? I stopped showing up, and guess what they stopped doing? They stopped sending me checks. Now, residual or leveraged income is very different in the simple fact that you do the work once and you get paid over and over and over and over again. If we have consumable products that people have positive benefits on, what are they going to continue to do? They're going to continue to consume them, right? And they're going to tell other people. And that's what creates true leveraged income in this type of business model, is you've got a consumable product that people have positive benefits on, and they continue to take it month after month after month. So work that I did 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, this year, we still get paid month after month after month for sharing this information and educating people on what we have our hands on. Now, again, I'm very cognizant that the business side isn't for everybody, but I want you to understand what you have. And I sat back at the back of the room when I heard this information. I kept asking myself, what if? What if the information they're telling me tonight is true? What if it's even half true? And I knew about it before everybody else. I live in South Dakota, you guys, so we don't hear about things first very often. Usually goes from the East and West Coast in, and we hear about it 17 years later. But the fact of the matter is you honestly know more about NRF2 and the technologies that Dr. Melody explained tonight. You know more than 99% of the medical professionals out there do right now. But that will not be the fact forever. More and more drugs are going to come out that utilize these pathways in the bodies. More and more natural products are going to come out. But here's what we have best in the shape of this company is we have a 10-year head start, over a decade head start on the science that validates our products do what they were designed to do, and it's continuing to get better and better. When we first started, there were 7 peer-reviewed studies. Melody said there's over 24 now. There were 3 patents on the product. There's more than 7 U.S. patents and several international patents as well. And that was important to me on the business side, because I was thinking to myself, okay, you know, you can't patent a plant. You can't patent a fish oil, right? Everybody has access to that. But the reason we were able to get patents on these products is because they show in the ratio that they're in, these ingredients, in the ratio they're in, they do something very specific, and they actually heighten the effectiveness by 18-fold than each one of those ingredients by themselves. That's the miracle here. That's what we have our hands on. And I'm super excited for you guys to hear this information tonight. On the compensation plan, I'm not going to get into all the ways we get paid. I showed you what the potential is for earnings here, but I want to highlight in the bottom right-hand corner the elite bonus pool, because this is very different than any other business that I've seen before. What they do is they take 4% of the total global commissionable sales, and they put it into this pie. And remember when I shared with you on that last screen the ranks in the company, Pro 1 to Pro 10. When you hit the rank of Pro 7, you start taking part or sharing in this elite bonus pool. And they take 4% of that global commissionable sales and they put it into 1% segments where all the Pro 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s share 1%. The 8, 9s, and 10s share a second. The 9s and 10s a third. And the Pro 10s, you guys, globally right now, there's probably 7 or 8 Pro 10s in a $200 million company that's traded on the NASDAQ. It's absolutely crazy. But what this meant to me when I started to understand it was this. It didn't matter when I got involved in the company. As long as I hit the rank of Pro 7, I was going to partake in all the work that's ever been done from the very first person to somebody that starts to work a year from now. We just launched Taiwan as a new international market. I don't know anybody in Taiwan, but I know this. I hope it blows up because the more people across the planet that we get integrating these products into their health strategy, it can increase the commissionable volume that we're getting out of this part of the compensation plan. So this is something very different that most companies don't offer. And what this means to me on top of that is it doesn't matter who's in whose group, right? We're just out here to help the company get bigger, to help more people integrate these products into their health strategy. So I love that part of the compensation plan. Now, getting started. You've heard a ton of information tonight. Dr. Melody did a great job explaining the science. I'm going to say it again. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer. You're going to at least integrate that core 4 products into your health strategy. But for those of you that are thinking about the business, here's how you get started with the business. There's 3 different packs. The platinum pack is $1,250. The gold pack is $650. The silver pack is $350. Get involved where you fit in. But I'll tell you this right away. What I've seen over and over and over again is the people that get involved with the platinum pack typically have their businesses grow the fastest. Because if you're like me, you're not bringing a ton of professional network marketers into the business. You're bringing in people that are going to ask the question, well, what did you do? And I can honestly say we got involved with the highest pack that was available because we wanted to integrate these products into our health strategy. We wanted our parents on the product. And we thought to ourselves, even if we don't get off the starting line, we've just prepaid and got a huge discount on a bunch of product that we're already going to take. And even if we didn't do the business side, we had our money back in product. And that's what you have with the platinum pack. And I'm telling you, if you get these products into people's bodies, you're going to see exactly what we saw. You're going to have the anecdotal evidence that all the science is real, that everything that we told you tonight matches up, and then some. Now, get in again where you feel comfortable at, but that's where I would get started if I had to start over again tomorrow because it creates the biggest footing. You get the most business benefits out of it, and it contains the most amount of product as well. Now, on the customer side, let's say you just want to integrate the products into your health strategy. Right there in the middle is what I've been talking about, the core 4 products, the Vitality Stack, NRF1 to increase the mitochondria, the amount and the health of the mitochondria in the cells, right? It's understandable if you don't have good mitochondria or a lot of them, you're not going to have tons of energy. Now, when you create a lot of energy in the cells, finance guy, here's my explanation of it, is it's going to create exhaust, right? So we have to have a way, if you have a bunch of engines revving up, they're going to create exhaust. You have to have a good way to remove that waste, that exhaust out of the cells, and that's where NRF2 comes into play, reducing oxidative stress-free radicals, cleaning up the garbage in the cells. And then the omega, the fish oil product, right? We don't have a natural way to produce these oils inside of our body, so if you don't get it through diet, you have to have supplementation. And the probiotic, I didn't understand gut health when we first got involved, but over the last several years, all the medical professionals, what they've explained to me is if your gut isn't healthy, your overall health is going to be shot. Your immune system is going to be shot. It's so important to have healthy gut. The probiotic, if you think about it like this, there's tons of probiotics out there. Why is ours the one that you should be on? Most probiotics, they're not shelf stable. So by the time that those pills get into your body, the product's not where it should be. The bacteria inside is dead. And then the ones that are surviving, they get killed in the stomach acid that they have to go through to get into your body. So that biotract system is super important for the bugs, the bacteria to get into your intestine, to get into the intestinal tract where it needs to be and where it needs to improve the health. So those core 4, think about it like this, you guys. Starbucks, what does it cost you? $5, $6 to go get a Starbucks. For $5 a day, you can get these 4 products integrated into your health. And I'm telling you, give it 4 to 6 months and you will see a dramatic shift. The True Science regimen on the left, that's the skincare Nerf 2 regimen. We brought in one of the best biochemists in the world, you guys, Dr. Natalie Chevreau. We initially brought her in as a consultant to add on to that anti-aging skincare cream. She had developed one of the #1 selling skincare product ever, Strivectin, and we brought her in as a consultant to enhance that line, and now she's in charge of our product development, one of the smartest ladies that I've ever had the opportunity to meet. And then on the far right, you have the travel stack, or travel vitality stack. For $2 extra, you can, instead of get the bottles, you'll get terrible foil packets that you can take with you on the go. I love that when I'm traveling and I'm out and about. But this is where I would get started if you're looking on the customer side. And do us a favor, you're going to fall into one of three categories here tonight. One, this information, you don't find it beneficial, you don't want to integrate it, but what I would ask you is this: let the person that invited you know where you stand, and if something changes down the road, get back to the person that introduced you this to you first. What I would also ask you is, if new science comes out, or maybe new products, or something changes in the company, maybe every 4 to 6 months, that we just touch base and we let you know what those changes are. If you have questions, let us know what those questions are. I'll contend all day long that Google's great, but at the same time, it's probably not where you should be doing your due diligence for this, when you can go to the American Heart Association. Nobody's going to argue that a blogger's more informative than the American Heart Association. So let us know what your questions are. We can direct you to the answers to help you know if this is for you or not. And then third, if you're ready to get started right away, let us know what it is. There isn't a better time to get started with this. I'm telling you, we saw this company go from 10 million to 40 to 120 to 200 million, and we are on the precipice of this launching in the next huge phase, going from 200 to 400 to $1 billion company. And the fact of the matter is you've heard about this before the average person. I've been all over the world doing this, you guys, from the United States to Canada, Mexico, Australia, all over the world. And what I know is this: there is not a marketplace that I've ever set foot in that the average person, if you walked out today and you said, do you know about Nerf 2? Do you know about NRF1? Or do you know about Lifevantage, Axio? That they'd be like, yes, I know all about that. The average person has no idea. You might find 1 or 2 people in each marketplace that have any sort of idea about the information that you learned tonight. So ask yourself this: what if? What if the information you heard about tonight was real? What if it's even half true? What could that potentially set you up for down the road? Because we're seeing shifts that have never existed in the business world before, disruptions that have never existed before. I can tell you for a fact that if I asked Dr. Melody if the medical world has changed, she would be telling you absolutely. Having to document everything, the records and all of that. Being a doctor is not the same as it was even 4 or 5 years ago. And there's a lot of people that are looking for something different. I worked my way up the corporate world. I had a successful career, but I can tell you this is 10 times better than anything I ever did in the corporate environment for me. And my life would be so different if I didn't take that leap of faith that we could share this information and transform other people's health. Some people it is just for the health side. Some people it's for the financial side. But I'm telling you, on top of all of that, the personal development that you get through a business like this is second to none. It's a crazy journey that we've been on, and we want to help as many people get where they want to get as fast as they want to get there. And there aren't secrets that I have that I'm not willing to share with anybody. I'm a complete open book about this. I'll tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. But I can tell you this: unlike the corporate world where I was paid more money to separate myself from everybody else, because then I was more likely to get the next raise, the next promotion. In a business model like this, our success is tied to helping other people be successful. So there isn't anything that I'm going to not have a direct responsibility to share with you. And that's what I want to do, is I want to educate people, because I know this in the business world. Eventually this window of opportunity, it's going to shut. It will at some point, and it won't be the same opportunity that it is today. And we want to help as many people as we possibly can, and that's why we work as hard as we do right now, is because we know that that opportunity eventually comes to a close. And that doesn't mean, again, that you can't make money down the road doing it, but I can tell you this, it's going to be harder. And you couldn't be positioned for a better time if this is something you want to do. I'd highly encourage you to get started and get going with this. We're excited about the journey. But with that, I want to thank Dr. Melody Rodarte for jumping on tonight and educating us on these products. I want to thank each one of you, especially the guests that are on tonight, for taking the time over the last 60 minutes to really start to understand a new technology that will be disruptive when we talk about people's health, and then a transformation in the business world from a brick and mortar store environment to what's happening, this flattening of the globe, where people have opportunities regardless where they live to build multi-million-dollar businesses with very, very limited financial resources to get started right away. So again, thank you, Dr. Melody. Appreciate you so much. We will do more of this, and we will talk to you all later. Take care.